I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for attending tonight. Will the clerk please take attendance?
Mr. Mayor, there are 6 council members present this evening. Councilmember Doran is absent.
Thank you. Action to approve the agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Comments from the public? Council have any comments, questions? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tildenburn,
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye. So before we start the open forum, in order to provide equal access to all during the open forum and public comment portions of the meeting, each individual offering comments shall not exceed the allotted 3-minute period. The podium light turns from green to yellow when there is 1 minute remaining. Your time for comment is expired when the podium light turns red. That being said, is there any member from the public who wishes to address the council on an item that's not on tonight's agenda? All right, we'll move on. Consent agenda. Action to approve the consent agenda. Is there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any public comment on any of the items on our consent agenda? Any council comments? Councilmember Specker.
Yeah, and I think Bonnie can answer this, but in the special event temporary alcohol beverage license, it's not really clear whether that's like for the year or for specific events. And I was just wondering if that could be clarified.
Yeah, certainly. So you'll have 5 events under item number B, the special event temporary alcohol beverage licenses. Those are for 5 separate events. The licenses issued are for 24 hours. So it will expire at the end of that day.
So how often are these submitted? Like once a month or for?
So applications are submitted from the staff at Sodexo as they handle the temporary alcohol on campus. And as soon as we get them in, we try to get them on a council agenda so that they can move on to the next event that they will be planning. So you'll see events that are maybe 6 months out. You'll see events that are maybe 3 weeks out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council on the consent agenda? Please call the roll.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tildenburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
All right, we'll go on to the presentations and reports, and I would like to invite Dr. James Murphy up to the podium. All right. Mural proclamation. Whereas strong communities are built on understanding, dialogue, and a shared commitment to fostering respect and seeing the best in one another. And whereas the School of American and Global Studies at South Dakota State University is hosting a Religion and Values Forum to encourage civil discussions on values essential to citizenship and community life. And whereas this forum seeks to bring neighbors together by hosting speakers that engage in thoughtful dialogue on important and often challenging issues of the day. And whereas the inaugural forum will be held on January 30th, 2025 at 7 p.m. at the South Dakota Art Museum. It will feature Dr. Kristen Renwick Monroe, a political science whose research explores the profound and moral courage of individuals in times of crisis. And whereas events like the Religion and Values Forum bridge divides and strengthen the bonds of our community. Now therefore be it resolved that I, O.K.G. Niemeyer, Mayor of the City of Brookings, do hereby proclaim January 30th, 2025 as Religion and Values Forum Day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me just say that the poster here really is illustrated with the image up there. This coming Thursday evening, we're going to host our first annual Religion and Values Forum. As he stated, really the goal is to just be one more thing in the community in a time when sometimes it feels like we're pulled apart by various forces, that community is important. And we ought to be able to come together as a community to talk about difficult issues, to entertain difficult issues, but still see one another as neighbors and as community members and as cherished people that live amongst us and are part of our communities and our schools and all. So that's what this is all about. Our inaugural speaker, she's published, she has a long track record on publishing on moral courage and trying to do the right thing and what that sometimes looks like from different kinds of people in the community. So I would encourage all members of the community, come out 7 p.m. This Thursday evening. It'll be in the basement of the South Dakota Art Museum, the auditorium there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next on our list for presentations is Claire Kennecke, Student Association Chairs to the City Council.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I don't have a lot tonight. Last week, members of our Senate, there were 4 of us, we got to attend Brookings and SDSU Day at the Capitol, and we had a great time getting to attend the info sessions, the ice cream social, and then the reception that evening. And then we also just got back from Pier yesterday. We spent Sunday and Monday at Students for Higher Education Day, so every student government from all of the 6 Regenttal universities bring students, and we spent a day at the Capitol. We had the most people there with 28. We beat USD by 10, so we were pretty happy about that. We've been watching legislative session closely. Some of the things that caught our eye last week were the House Bill 1090, which is kind of the anti-hazing bill that's up this year, as well as Senate Bill 100, which would allow concealed carry on our campus. And we haven't taken official stances, but we will be watching those ones closely. That's all I have tonight. Any questions?
I guess not. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
All right, now we have a presentation on the First Impressions program, and Laura and Brookings, Kelsey Doom, and Kristen Jesdahl also. Or Laura, are you? Oh yeah, Kristen's just coming in. So.
Awesome, good timing, good.
All right.
Well, welcome and thank you so much for this quick opportunity. I won't take a lot of time. Laura Shane Carbonneau, Executive Director of Visit Brookings. And we also have Kirsten Jesdahl with Downtown Brookings and Kelsey Doom here with the Brookings Area Chamber of Commerce, but I am the lucky spokesperson tonight. Just to talk on behalf of our organizations, we're really excited to be part of the inaugural First Impression programs in the state of South Dakota. This was something that came about, actually, Kirsten kind of found out about it. I think maybe she heard about it from someone else. But the closest comparison that we can use to explain what this is, it's kind of like a secret shopper program, but it's across the entire community. So again, we're really excited to do this. We decided to, actually it's run through the South Dakota State University Extension Service Community Vitality Program. So it's actually an organized organization, and it is run, going to be modeled after some of the different programs that have been done in other states. So after careful consideration, we did decide that Aberdeen would be the best community partner for us to serve as our sister community. They're a little bit larger than us, but we do have comparable, we're a university community. We're close to the same size in community. We have a number of manufacturing jobs. We have similar types of family-friendly attractions. So we thought that it would be a very nice comparison. In addition, we also have our counterparts that are very similar to what we have here in Brookings. Taking a look at kind of the next slide, during the summer, we're going to have a group of volunteers that will go to Aberdeen, and they will have a group of volunteers that will come to Brookings. And they're going to look at a lot of different things. They're going to start by, flip back a little bit if you can, to the last slide. Okay, they're going to start with just an online search to find out, okay, what can you find about that community online? And then they're going to go in and taking a look at some of those different things like the community gateways once they get into the community, downtown and other shopping areas, industrial parks, healthcare services, recreation and tourism, housing, schools, civic organizations, public infrastructure, including libraries, city streets, signage, those kind of things. So now we can hop on to the next slide. We're at the very beginning of the project right now. Kirsten and I had a chance to sit down and kind of talk through our volunteers. And it turns out today we saw what Aberdeen was looking at, and we have very similar profiles of who we're going to invite for our volunteers. Things like retired couple, a young family, a single person. So we have a pretty good idea of who those people are that we've identified. The next step will be to reach out to them and get their commitment, and then we'll do some training with the idea that these visits will happen in the summer. That just seems to be the best time to visit both communities. You don't have to worry about weather. You can really get out and enjoy the outdoor opportunities, and really it's one of the best times to visit each community. Once everyone has had a chance to complete their visits, all the data that's been gathered will go back to the Extension Service, and they will compile it and then present a report that will be shared with our two communities. From there, we might be surprised in some of the impressions that people had of our community, and we might think that some of them are just confirming what we already knew. So we think it'll definitely be a nice opportunity to just get those fresh eyes. And if it turns out there's something that is maybe needing to be addressed, that's something that we can, as a community, take a look at and say, this is what people coming to our community think about our community. Is it something that maybe we need to address, or and vice versa up in Aberdeen? So that's really a very quick overview of the program. We wanted to make sure that we engaged our city leaders so you knew that it was happening. There is a formal application that we have to submit that we'll be getting to you in the next probably day. Mayor, we probably need your signature on it,
Right.
And then we will be officially ready to go. But really, that's it. And again, it is definitely a good partnership between the entities in Aberdeen as well as the counterparts here in Brookings, and run through South Dakota State University Extension Service. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions, comments? Councilmember Specker.
Yeah, Laura, is the extension going to present this to council?
The final report, I am not sure if they will present it. Yes, they will present it. It will not be us. It will be them presenting it.
Okay, because I think this would be a good study session for in the fall, late fall.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I guess I should ask also if there's anybody from the public that would like to ask any questions or make comments. Anybody else have any questions, comments? I have one. Ideally, your candidates that are going to go as volunteers, it would probably be wise that they've never been to Aberdeen, so that they've never been there. So it's truly a first impression.
Yeah, that's the idea, to get people that maybe aren't as familiar. And that's one of the reasons, too, why we picked Aberdeen as opposed to Watertown, that we think people, because it's so close, there's a lot of traction back and forth. So yeah, that would be kind of the ideal, that people aren't as familiar with either of the our volunteers shouldn't be as familiar with Aberdeen, and vice versa. They should be fairly new to our community. So they do see it with those fresh eyes.
All right, cool. It'll be interesting to find out what happens.
Yeah. One thing I should note is this is kind of a nice cost saver to us. Once it gets up and going, it's going to cost each community about $10,000 to do, because we are the first. We do not have to pay that. So it's kind of a nice way to take advantage of some of our local resources in a very collaborative way.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have a presentation, Brookings 2021 to 26 Strategic Plan Online Dashboard. Jake Meschke, our Deputy City Manager, will present this item.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm going to start with just a brief narrative update, and then I will get into the show and tell portion of tonight's presentation. In 2021, the City Council created and adopted the 2021 to 2026 Strategic Plan to guide operations, policy, and strategy to attain key community outcomes. The strategic plan is revisited and updated annually as needed to reflect changes in the community and City Council priorities. The strategic plan was most recently updated in April 2024. Up until now, the strategic plan has been maintained and tracked using a static Word/PDF document. Staff has led an initiative to digitize the strategic plan into a dynamic, user-friendly, and interactive online dashboard for City Council, stakeholders, and members of the public. Staff will update this dashboard biannually going forward. As this is a new process and tool, we anticipate that the dashboard will become more thorough and improve with each round of updates going forward. And with that, I will just show a couple of documents for council and the public's reference. So this document before you is a version of the 2022 where we would basically show our updates for the goals contained within the strategic plan via color coordinated to show what was in progress, what was accomplished, and what was ongoing. So this was an earlier version that would be uploaded to the website and available for members of the public or council to track at their wish. The most recent version of the plan, back in 2024, when this was updated, roughly the same format, but now it shows again your pillar of fiscal responsibility, the goal, all of the objectives that ultimately pyramid up and support those goals with an opportunity to complete a progress tracker and show what percentage complete each of those goals are. And from there, we would then transition into a web-based dynamic online dashboard to track that. This online version is going to mimic the printed version. So each of your pillars are going to be contained across the top. The drop-down menus are going to show the goals that pyramid up into those pillars. And then within each of those goals, you're going to have the objectives, which are the lowest level that will actually show how this operates. So you can navigate it here. You can hit your drop down if you want to click into a specific goal. If you go further right, this will get down all the way into the objectives. You can also scroll to the bottom and kind of click into the same place and get there. You will notice throughout the document there is a color coordinated system. If you hover your mouse over it, it'll tell you within each of these pillars what these mean. So this is telling us that 76% of the objectives within fiscal responsibility are on track, and 24% of them have already been completed. A couple other colors you'll see are yellow, indicating there's been some disruption, meaning that staff has encountered some sort of challenge or setback that may be delaying a particular goal from getting accomplished in the anticipated timeline. Black would indicate a goal that's been discontinued. That may be occurring just from a different strategy that's been taken, or the goal no longer being relevant, or an alternative course of action being pursued. Another color you may see a little bit of is this gray, and that is status pending. And what that says is that's a goal that we've not started yet. Because this is a plan that runs from 2021 to 2026, there are just a couple of items that will be tackled in 2026, and progress has not yet been made upon those. So from there, when you click into the plan, just go into the pillar of fiscal responsibility, and hopefully the internet cooperates. So this will now show you're now down at the next level of the plan. These are the goals that pyramid up into this pillar. Again, here you can see where the progress is at on each of those. There's also a progress tracker showing what percentage of each of those goals have been completed. And when you click in and go to the furthest level, more detailed level into the plan, you can actually see again within there where these objectives are at. And if you go down one more level, you'll actually get to the narrative update that'll show, in particular to this objective, what has been accomplished to this point, any challenges that have been faced, and any next steps that are needed to complete that objective. And again, on this, you'll see a status of that objective, and you'll also see the percentage of completion of that objective. So it's a very detailed plan. Really, you can look at it at a 30,000-foot level from a very high level, but the beauty is it also allows council, members of the public, or others to drill down and really get as much information as they'd like. This does bring an added level of transparency to the City Council's strategic plan, where this will be available on our website, and folks will again be able to navigate this and really see the progress that the city is making on the most important items that we've identified. With that being said, I will stand for any questions, but before I do that, I do just want to thank all of our department heads for the effort that they put into this. This, again, has been a new tool for them, so it required a lot of collaboration and cooperation amongst our team, and as you can see in the strategic plan, the departments are really responsible for the items here within. So this was a big lift by them. I'm very grateful, and we hope that this is a tool that just continues to bring transparency and brings the strategic plan to life in a more user-friendly fashion.
Thank you, Jake. Is there any public comment or questions on this particular item? Council, any questions, comments? Councilmember Rasmussen.
Thank you. Jake, could you just show us how you can find this dashboard from the city website?
I would love to. It's actually not public yet, so we wanted to unveil this to council in this setting before we put it live on our website. So within the coming days, I'll be working with Sherry, and then we'll locate this on the website, and then we can do some social media posts and things of that nature to make sure that members of the public know exactly where they can find this dashboard going forward.
Councilmember Wendell.
Thank you, Mayor. Jake, can you share with us the process of the progress tracker and how that gets populated? Is it a department head that identifies that a goal has been completed or there's been progress made, or is that funneled through another process?
Yep, so the department, as I'll just pull back up the PDF version for a second, you can see that each of these goals are assigned to specific departments, and that is the same way that the process works within the software as well. So each of those departments are, again, making those updates, and frankly, on the back end, there's just a slider bar where they can basically select what percentage complete that goal is in really their best estimation outside of 100% being completed. From there, once the department head selects that, we're looking at what percentage that's complete, and then we're also looking at that narrative update as we had up here when we kind of dive deeper into this to see, how well does their percentage align with the updates and next steps. So the short answer to your question is the department heads are populating that, and then Sam and myself and Paul, we kind of complete the quality control aspect to make sure that, we see that general alignment.
All right. Thank you very much, Jake. We have no contracts or change orders this evening. First readings, item 8A, introduction and first reading on ordinance 25-002, an ordinance amending chapter 94 pertaining to the creation of a new zoning district, civic district, and associated supplemental regulations. Mike Struck, our community development director, will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. The ordinance before you tonight is creation of a new district in our zoning ordinance called the Civic District. It's intended for many of our civic public type uses as well as the large institutional uses. So think along the lines of this building here, libraries, hospitals, schools, and then a lot of the larger religious type institutions. This was something that was identified within our comprehensive plan a few years ago, looking at oftentimes these uses are associated with large land masses and may not fit into some of our more traditional zoning districts. In particular, sometimes with the residential, when you see a large land area platted, there's kind of a rush to judgment on the worst case scenario that could occur on there. And oftentimes these uses that we're identifying for these civic districts, they're really good neighbors. Who doesn't like to be next to a school and a playground or a park or other similar type uses. So we propose this. When we propose a new zoning district, there comes a number of changes that have to be made throughout the entire zoning district. And so you'll notice that as well. There's I think about 10 to 12 other areas that are impacted from it. In doing some research and looking at comparable communities, oftentimes what we found is with a civic zoning, they're held to a higher standard than what a traditional zoning district is because it does have a public use associated with it. And so typically through the public use and the use of public funds, there's a little bit additional scrutiny. There's some planning processes that are brought forward with it. They're more restricted or viewed differently from the site plan perspective. And in Brookings, in some cases, if a use would happen to fall along one of our commercial corridors, it would potentially also be subject to that review process. There are a few exceptions. There are, some substations and other public uses like that maybe don't quite fit as well into the commercial corridor, but they're necessaries to provide that infrastructure for the community. So those are a couple of the exceptions. This does come to you as a 6-1 recommendation from the Planning Commission, and the Development Review Team supports the ordinance amendment, and I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mike. Does the public have any questions or comments on this item? Council have any questions, comments at this time? Councilmember Specker?
I would like to just thank you for bringing up the overlay district, because it wasn't real clear to me that that would override this particular zoning if it were located within an overlay district,
So
for the most part.
yeah, there will be some uses that the commercial corridor will come into play. Primarily, you have to look at structures being involved. For example, if it's a park located along one of the commercial corridors, obviously it's not going to go through the commercial corridor, because the last thing we'd want to do is encourage the bathrooms up along the street frontage. Typically, they're tucked closer to the high usage areas. Likewise, substations, lift stations, those are challenging things to meet. There are some uses that maybe won't be going through the commercial corridor, but because of the use as a conditional use, there is an additional public review and input process as well as so. Any other questions?
All right, we'll have second reading on February 11th meeting. Item 9, second readings and public hearings. Item 9A, second reading and action on ordinance 25-001, an ordinance accepting the report of the Brookings City Charter Commission pursuant to section 8.01 C in parentheses of the Brookings City Charter, ratifying the formation of the Charter Commission and setting the election date for submission of the proposed charter amendments to the voters of the City of Brookings. Jake Meschke, our Deputy City Manager, will present this item. I have to also say that we have our chair and vice chair here this evening to answer any questions from the commissions.
Good evening again, Mayor and members of the council. The City Council established a City Charter Review Commission to evaluate the current Brookings Charter for potential updates and necessary changes. The commission conducted approximately 7 public meetings from July through December. These meetings facilitated detailed reviews and discussions to ensure a comprehensive examination of the charter. In November, the Charter Commission presented its recommended changes to the City Council as well as the public. Based on the comments heard at the November council meeting, the commission adjusted several sections for additional clarity. The revised charter draft is now presented as the final report for council approval and for voter consideration at the April election. And with that, the chair and vice chair are here for questions, as well as city staff.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on this item? Council, have any questions, comments? We pretty much had a lot of the comments on the first reading, so please call the roll.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye. I guess I wanted to also point out and thank the commission for the time that they put in for this. And I know that there's presentations to the public before the election. And the election date is when, Bonnie?
Tuesday, April 8.
Okay. Move on. Item 9B, public hearing and action on resolution 25-010, a resolution of intent to lease real property located at the Brookings Regional Airport. Lucas Dahl, our airport manager, will present this item.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Lucas Dahl with the Brookings Regional Airport. Item 9B is a resolution of intent to lease real property to Cole Hauge for 314 acres of public land for haying at the Brookings Regional Airport. A bid letting was conducted on January 7th, 2025. We had 2 bids received. Cole Hauge for $120.50 per acre, and Eric Weir for $102.75 per acre. Notice of the public hearing was published on January 17th, 2025. Approval of the resolution will authorize the city manager to enter into a bid and enter into a lease to Cole Hauge for the Brookings Regional Airport hay lease at a lease rate of $120.50 per acre for 314 acres, resulting in an annual payment of $37,837. The lease at the airport is a one-year lease with the option to extend for 2 additional one-year leases if agreed upon by the city and the leasee. The city attorney has reviewed the lease. Staff and airport board recommend approval. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Lucas. Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Been moved and second. Is there any public comment on this item? Council have questions, comments? I would assume after the hay has been baled, it has to be off of the airport by a certain amount of time or out of harm's way?
Within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Specker,
Aye.
Tildenburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Okay. Item 9C, public hearing and action on Resolution 25-004, a resolution of intent to lease real property, city hayland located at South Main Avenue and 32nd Street South. Lucas Dahl, our airport manager, will present this item also.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Item 9C is a resolution of intent to lease real property to Eric Weir for 18 acres of public land for haying located south of 32nd Street South and east of Main Avenue South. Approval of this proposed resolution will authorize the city manager to execute a lease for 18 acres of hayland to Eric Weir for a period of 1 year with the option of 2 additional one-year terms for 26 and 27 if agreed upon by the city and the leasee. A bid letting was held on January 7th, 2025. Eric Weir was the only bid that we received for $63 per acre for 18 acres, which results in an annual payment of $1,134. Notice of the public hearing for the resolution was published on January 17th, 2025. The city attorney has reviewed and staff recommends approval. Are there
Thank
any
you, Lucas.
questions?
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Public comment on this item. Council, any questions, comments on this item? Please call the roll.
Tildenburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 9D, public hearing and action on a special event, temporary alcohol beverage applications from Brookings Area Chamber of Commerce. And I'll let Bonnie take it from here.
Mayor and council members, in front of you is action on a temporary special event license. This is for an event the chamber is hosting. It's called the Galentine's Day event. This will be held Friday, February 13th at Brookings Cinema on 6th Street. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thanks, Bonnie. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment? Here's your chance, Kelsey, to advertise. All right. Any comments from council? Questions? Please call the roll.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tildenburn.
Aye.
All right. Item 9E, public hearing and action on ordinance 25-003, an ordinance to change the zoning within the city of Brookings, rezone 1115 West 20th Street South from Ag A District to a Residence R3 Apartment District. Mike Struck, our Community Development Director, will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. The ordinance before you tonight is a rezone at 1115 West 20th Street South. The proposal is to rezone from an agricultural district to a residence R3 apartment district. TH Companies LLC is the applicant. They are proposing, it's kind of a two-step process tonight. The first step is the rezone, and the second part is the large-scale residential development plan or the preliminary plat. They're proposing the R3 zoning, and they've submitted an LSRD as part of that. And so what that is really doing is showing their intentions of their layout of the proposed development. This is consistent with the future land use map of our comprehensive plan that identifies this area as a medium density residential that could handle 4 to 12 units per acre. It does come to you as a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission. The Development Review Team supports the request. The adjacent properties around here are zoned ag, rural residential with an R1A, as well as R3 to the east. With that, I would stand for any questions you may have.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on this item? Please come forward, state your name and address, please, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Kristen Oak. I live at 1206 West 20th Street, so directly across from this property. And I guess I would like to speak to the R3A status and request that that is reconsidered. When I look at the comprehensive plan that's available online on the city's website, there's a few things that stand out as inconsistent with what has been presented. On page 96 of the comprehensive plan, it talks about land use policies, and it says that an ongoing policy agreed on by the Planning Commission and the City Council is to implement an intensity-based approach to land use and development in accordance with the future use map and land use categories. Additionally, it says that the future land use map as a basis for decisions by the Planning Commission and City Council should be used. And when you look at page 79 and 80 in that book, it says that it's a low density area, not a high density or medium density, based on the, I think, well, there's a whole other section on the south on page 72 that talks about issues that could be, that are with the south development of this. So I would just ask that this is looked at again, because for the public to see the plan, it says that this is a low density area. Additionally, some of those concerns that are brought up on page 72 talk about frequent ponding, high development costs due to the water table, which I believe that's been part of the problem with what the plans have come up with. The needed infrastructure, limited access to city services and resources. So what does this do for our streets department, the public schools, police, all of those areas? And then just lack of neighborhood centers that service the existing residents. Additionally, I would just bring up personally, on August 5th, Brookings experienced a high rain event, and my home, water came into my home across my whole yard. It came, from the Pleasant View, water goes under the street there and comes down now on our side of the street. We lost animals, we lost property, high cost. When I called the water department and asked for a city or to have a water test kit, I was told, don't worry about it, it's probably no big deal, as water laid over my well for 8 hours. My water was contaminated, and we were without clean water for almost 2 months in my home based on this. So I know that the plans have gone through to look at the water, the streets, all of those things, but as a person who lives out there, I question some of this and what's available to us in the public. So I just ask that it would be relooked at, based on what is available for us to see in the zoning. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any comments from the public, please?
Good evening, Council. My name is Russell Atkins. I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm coming here tonight and speaking in favor of the rezone and the development. I do think that we need to keep in mind that there are two parts to what's going on this evening. We are looking at a development with a rezone to R3, but the deciding factor to me would really be the LSRD that outlines the future plan that we've got established here, what the density would ultimately be. I do believe this area is in the comp plan for medium density for future development. That would be 4 units to the acre up to 12 units to the acre, which based on how many acres exist here would be roughly north of 130 units all the way up to 380 units. I believe you'll see whenever we show you the site plan, we've got 41 twin home lots and 17 single family lots, bringing the total density to 99 units, thus being roughly equivalent to 3 dwelling units to the acre, below that density which is contemplated for future development. These are also for sale lots where people can come in and build custom dwelling units there, which would add value and bring up property values for those around it. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions from the developer. I also have our partner, Travis Harzma, here as well, who would also answer any questions if need be.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from the public? Okay. Council members have questions, comments? Council member Avery.
Mike, I've had several inquiries, and one of the things that gets brought up quite often is that the concern is that we are zoning at R3, and it says R3 apartment dwelling, and that raises concerns. And then you say, well, we have the large scale residential plan that goes with it, and that part of the process is just as binding as the zoning, then, isn't it? Because the feeling is that, well, we're going to zone at R3 today, and we're not going to do apartments, but we can change our mind later on, and that's just not the case, is it?
Yeah, what's unique with the large-scale residential development is it allows some flexibility in residential developments that are a minimum of 20 acres, and so you're looking at a master plan type area. When the zoning's in place, and I should mention is typically the reason why they try and seek an R3 is it's one of the most flexible residential districts. It accounts for a variety of uses, but allows for smaller lots, smaller setback requirements, and it helps to achieve some of the density. And so we have some areas of the community that are zoned R3 with very nice and expensive homes. And so it's not necessarily a price point, but it provides the flexibility that if you had, say, a 7,000 square foot lot, you could build on it, which in the R2 district you couldn't. The minimum lot area is 7,500. So it gives the flexibility there, smaller lot areas, smaller setbacks. Now, to speak to your question in regards to the LSRD, yeah, it's essentially committing yourself to that development plan. And so in this particular case, it's the next item up if this rezoning is approved, but it's going to show that there's 41 lots that are available for twin home development and 17 for single family. If they were to try and revise the plan and consolidate some of those lots to try and put in, like maybe a 3-4 unit structure or even a apartment complex or something, they would have to come back through a revision to their large-scale residential development that would go back through the Planning Commission with their recommendation forwarded to the City Council for final action.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Councilmember Specker.
Off the top of your head, do you know what the density is for a low density? Medium density is 4 to 12 per acre, right?
Yeah, low density obviously can vary from
less than 4?
Yeah.
So,
Typically, you're looking at, I think with some of the low density residential, 2 to 3 units per acre, can go up to, I think it's 7. So to speak to the other question about looking at the static comprehensive plan, which is a PDF document that we don't change, we've made a number of amendments. It's all available online when you go to the city. I believe it's under the community section. There's the city maps, and you can go in, and when we make an amendment or we make a zoning change, when we update those, we attach the ordinance and the resolutions to them so that they can see the date that those amendments were changed. So we probably made, I'm just going to go on and say maybe 15 or 20 map amendments since it was adopted in 2018. And so that's, the paper one, the static one on the website doesn't change. The 180 some page document doesn't change, but we do it through our GIS system. We update the maps and that's available for the public.
So Mike, I don't know if you can answer this question. I drove out here, out to the site today and kind of looked at the topography. I did stop at BMU to talk to Eric a little bit about the flow of the sanitary sewer. And I guess if I could get some clarification from Eric and possibly John about how the drainage is going to happen on this so we know which way the water in the sewer is going to handle this.
So the drainage is available in the next
Okay.
item.
All right.
It shows the grading and the flows.
Okay.
From a sanitary sewer perspective, I can let Eric help me out on here, but
But we can wait for the next one on that.
yeah, but the west side interceptor's in place.
Right.
And so that elevation isn't really looking to move,
Okay.
so.
Councilmember Tilton-Burton.
You mentioned, Mike, that the current area is slated for 4 to 12 units per acre. Can you tell us which of the residential zones would allow for 4 to 12? Is it just?
Medium dent, from a zoning district?
Yeah.
We went away from the per acre density in the R3 and R3A. That was an amendment here, I think, within the last 2 years. What we found is there was some multifamily projects that met all of our zoning regulations from setback, landscaping, parking, but their per unit density was higher than what was in our zoning standards. And it was like we were artificially killing good projects because when the ordinance was written and drafted, we weren't doing underground parking at that time. And so we amended that to remove that density requirement out. And so the only two residential districts that had that was the R3 and R3A. But like the R2 could accommodate a 4 to 12 units, R3 can. As I mentioned previously, the reason why some developers seek the R3 is it does give them the greatest flexibility from a lot area requirement and setbacks. And so what we've seen is they like that because of the 6 foot side yard. Doesn't mean they always build to that. They may still incorporate a 7 or 8 foot side yard, but it allows, when you get into, especially with the twin home developments, if you were to go to an R2, your lot square footage might bump up another 2,000 or 3,000, and your minimum lot width along the street frontage might go from 75 feet up to 90 feet. So now all of a sudden you start losing lots, and it reduces your density even further. So the R3 is probably the most flexible residential district.
And you talked a little bit about kind of the safeguards that are in place with the LSRD, kind of locking us into what this design is. Talk to us a little bit about what would happen hypothetically in the event that a situation like this, the land was sold and ultimately the plan that was put before us tonight doesn't come to fruition. If the land was sold to a different developer, they would have to go through an entirely separate process to bring their plan forward and get that approved with us as well, correct?
That would be correct. If they didn't want to adhere to the approved large-scale residential development plan, they would certainly have the ability to revise it, and they'd go through that same process through the Planning Commission and then to the City Council for final approval.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Avery.
Just to clarify too, one of the other things that we've heard quite a bit is that it's a wetland and shouldn't develop there, but it is not a designated floodplain or flood zone, is it?
Correct. And so we looked at the existing floodplain, and then there's also preliminary floodplain that are available. It's not in either one of those. We went to the National Wetlands Inventory mapping to see if there was wetlands in the area. There were not wetlands in the area. And so when they identified that originally on the comprehensive plan, it was kind of from a very large scale, and you can kind of look at from aerial photography, you know, there might be some darker spots. They're usually a pretty good indication that there's a depression. There might be some sitting water there occasionally, depending on the time of the year. And they try and use the best available data at that time. We've had more recent data become available, in particular with, I shouldn't say it's super new, but with the FEMA updated floodplain mapping, they've adjusted the boundaries, and then they're constantly looking at other sources of data as it's updated to reflect the changes. So.
Okay. Councilmember Wendell?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to take us too far off topic, but I do want us to consider the PDF version of the comp plan that is publicly available, but perhaps isn't updated. If there's another way to either update that document or make sure folks understand that some of what they're reading is not the most current version of that plan, it seems like that's causing some confusion.
So the text hasn't been changed since we've adopted it. The only thing that's changed is the map. Mm-hmm. And so the map is available. I think we've got about 12 to 13 maps that are available publicly through our city maps on the website. And that's where our zoning map and our future land use maps are updated. It also has, I think, annexation priorities. So those maps, as we update stuff into the GIS, they're automatically updated on our city website as well. Sure. So the other thing I would say is the GIS maps are much, much more detailed, and you can zoom in, where the PDF it's basically an 8.5 by 11 format. So as you zoom in, it starts to get a little bit distorted, where the GIS maps, you're really able to see the attention to detail as you zoom in. So the text hasn't changed, the map has. One of the nice things about it is we provide the documentation of when those changes occurred through resolutions and through ordinances, and they can follow along and see when those amendments occur. We won't be able to do that in the PDF version of the map.
It's just something I think maybe we should contemplate from a user perspective, if there's a more user-friendly way to approach that.
Jake, you got a comment?
Yes, if I may, Mayor. Councilmember Wendell, the consultant that we utilized to put together our comprehensive plan is one that we've utilized for other documents with the city. I would characterize our relationship with them as very strong. Potentially, there would be an opportunity we could reach out to them to see if we could amend that page to possibly put an asterisk to note that it's been updated, or possibly even include a link on that subheader to that map back to the mapping page that Mike is talking about for the most current map. So that's certainly an avenue that we can explore. Could be a relatively quick fix if they've got the original source documentation, which I envision they might, since this plan is only about 6-8 years old at this point. But your point is well taken, and I believe there's an opportunity that we can explore. There's a simple solution to that to make sure that we're providing good information to residents.
And then I just wanted to make one comment before I assume we proceed to vote on the zoning piece of this. I would say that I was apprehensive about the R3 zoning, but I do think there's wisdom in particular in the smaller setbacks, and that helps to accomplish some of what we have discussed in terms of density and flexibility. I'm more comfortable with the R3 designation in large part because of the fact that the LSRD will have to come back before the council if any modifications are made. And so I understand that the R3 provides a lot of flexibility, and that has made some folks that have been following this process nervous. But I think the LSRD process ensures that if dramatic changes are made, even within a flexible zoning area, that it will come back before the council for us to consider those changes.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Please call the roll.
Avery?
Aye.
Niemeyer?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Specker?
Aye.
Tiltonburn?
Aye.
Wendell?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 10B, action on resolution 25-008, a resolution adopting, take that back. We're up in 10A, I'm sorry. Action on preliminary plat for blocks 1 through 4 of Prairie Sunset Edition. Mike Struck will present this item also.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is the item that was just before you with the rezoning. If we can maybe fast forward to the next slide, right here. Oh, no, that one. Perfect, thank you. So this is the large-scale residential development that is before you for consideration. This is a 30.46 acre development. It consists of 41 lots that are for twin home development, and then the 17 lots down in the southeast, they're kind of that pinkish red color, are designated for single family. There's 2 large tracts for drainage purposes. They meet all of our subdivision requirements. They're not asking for any variances to our subdivision regulations. The street layout meets our secondary access requirements. The one caveat is those are not the names of the streets, they're placeholders. They will have to come forward with final street names at the time of final platting, but they're placeholders. And then we just run it against our street name database to make sure that there's no duplications or similar names of that nature. Like as we mentioned, it's a total density in this particular unit, if they're all built out with 99 units down in this area, just around 3.25 units per acre. Does come to you as a 7-to-1 recommendation from the Planning Commission, and the development review team supports the rezoning request. I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and second. Is there any public comment on this item?
Kristen Oak, 1206 West 20th Street. Should have saved some of the end of my other for this, but I forgot to say in the beginning that I'm not against this. I'm not trying to make this not developed, but just want to make sure that I would like to hear about the street safety test. As a person who lives out there at the top of the hill, you can't see the Pheasant Run Road there, and so there's often squealing brakes. There's also people that take that hill as a launching point to come shooting onto the rest of 20th Street South or off the gravel and up the hill. And there's no shoulders, there's no sidewalks, no any of that. And so just wanted to ask about that. And then just kind of, again, the services that are provided to this side of town and to these residents that will be my neighbors, basically, and what the city has planned for that.
Any department heads want to take a stab at that?
Charlie Richter, your city engineer.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'll touch on the traffic generated by the subdivision. A traffic impact study was performed for the subdivision by HDR. They had a variety of recommendations in there that have been incorporated in the preliminary plat that you see right in front of you. One of the major ones was the separation between Brighton Road and the A Avenue, as shown on the preliminary plat. The traffic impact study recommended a separation of that to further, with the turning movements, to further enhance safety there, which the developer's engineer complied with. I think there was a concern about Rapid Valley Avenue too. That was not really a part of the requirement for the developer. That is something that is a separate issue that we are looking at with addressing at a separate point. That is a city issue that we're further exploring options for addressing. I guess I'll touch on drainage as well while I'm up here. The two detention basins shown in the preliminary plat meet all the preliminary drainage requirements by the city. We, in fact, think that they are providing in excess of the required storage required for the stormwater runoff. So we're happy with what we've seen so far with the drainage plan. Before a final plat comes through the office, the developer will be required to provide a final drainage plan to address any of the other concerns that we have with the drainage.
Thank you, Charlie. Well, we got him up here. Is there any other questions for the public for Charlie? Okay. Council comments, questions for Charlie while he's up here? All right. Move on to any questions council has for any of the other items. Councilmember Specker?
I was hoping that Eric could address some sewer issues,
Please.
please.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Eric Witt, Water and Wastewater Manager from BMU. I'm sure you've heard concerns of sanitary sewer in this area. This is a interceptor sewer, serves the west side, and essentially half the community runs through this sewer. In 2010, 2011, there was a obstruction in the sewer, and there was a backup in the neighborhood. So that was an unfortunate incident that I would guess that you've have heard of in some of the public comments and concerns in this area. Since that time, there's been tens of millions of dollars of improvements to that sanitary sewer line, both upstream in flow equalization in a high flow event, and then the entire, I would say, 2+ miles downstream has been replaced. So there's been a lot of improvements to that sewer. It absolutely has the capacity for the development that's being proposed. As we get into the water sewer design, if you go to the next slide, potentially, we will have to meet our design criteria for this development. The sewer is shallow compared to existing grades out there, but the design will have to account for that, and I've met with the applicant and his design engineer. I think they understand the requirements. I'll have to see a final plan. There's a process we go through for approving the water and sewer connection, but there is absolutely capacity in the sanitary sewer. Other questions?
Any other questions for Eric while we have him up here? Councilmember Specker?
I just want to emphasize, having sat in on one of the development review team meetings, that these plans that are developed are reviewed by each of the utilities as well as each of the departments within the city. And I'm not sure the public is really aware of that process, so I just wanted to mention that.
Absolutely, and this utility plan you see on the screen is a good concept plan. I understand what they plan to do, but I still have another level of review that we'll have to do for the water and sewer. I'll need to see plan and profile, depths, inverts, a lot more details on what exactly they're doing, and the applicant understands that. But yes, there's absolutely a more detailed engineering review before we would approve the sewer and water connection to our system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Does the developer want to come up and make any comments on this particular item?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Again, Russell Atkins, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We've gone through quite a bit of engineering and looking at all the different things here, the inverts, the manhole flows, the amount of soil on site, how much dirt would be required to balance the site, the storm, all that other. So where a lot of times preliminary plans come to you in that very state, preliminary, these have gone through quite the review process. And I will also kind of reiterate the traffic study that was done that showed no impact from this particular development was also at a much higher density than what we're proposing now. So even at the higher level of density that was one of the interim site plans that we had done that triggered the traffic study, this one would even be less of an impact. We're excited about it. Like I said, we've spent a lot of time, staff has spent a lot of time with us. We've gone back and forth on several things and have come up with this product that we feel pretty proud of.
So I have a question about the drainage, and maybe you can answer this. So your intentions of these having, and I have to make a comment, that 1/5 of this whole thing is drainage, detention.
You know, what we found, Mayor, when we started digging into the engineering on this site is that the inverts on the sewer and the elevations that exist, particularly back here on the southwest corner, would have caused the sewer line to roughly be 8 foot out of the ground to flow over to where the main collector is at, which, if you can imagine me trying to bring in enough dirt to raise this site up to get to 8 feet, it just made it practically impossible to look at that southwest corner. So that's what really started us looking at this area. And what we wanted to do was turn a challenge into an asset. And so we took some of the low areas and we said, fine, let's make them a nice retaining water system. We know that there's some drainage issues. We'll add more capacity to storage of runoff than what's required, but it will add an amenity to the neighborhood and to the lots themselves. And because we were impacted so much with the density on this site, we made up with it kind of going towards more of a quality development where I think there'll be several of these twin home sites where people maybe buy both sides and build one single resident because these lots are going to be fairly nice. But that's what necessitated us going so deep with the two retaining water systems and drainage area. We actually really liked how it turned out.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right, please call the roll.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Tildenburn.
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
All right. Item 10B, action on Resolution 25-008, a resolution adopting 2025 Edgebrook Golf Course rates. Ashley Wrench, our Finance Director, will present this item.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. This is Resolution 25-008, adopting the 2025 Edgebrook Golf Course rates. Each year, staff performs a peer analysis and evaluates the operational cost increases to set the rates for the upcoming season at Edgebrook Golf Course. On the screen, you can see the proposed 2025 fees and the dollar amount and percentage change for each. These fees were reviewed and approved by the Park and Recreation Advisory Board on January 6th, and the rate increases are in line and competitive with peer courses, while also reflecting the increasing costs of providing services, including the significant increase in the golf cart contract, which was approved at the last meeting. Upon approval of these fees, the consolidated fee schedule will be updated to reflect the new fees, as you can see on this screen. Staff recommends approval of this resolution as presented, and with that, I'll stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on this item? Council, any questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Tildenburn.
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye. Okay, we move on to item 11, the highly anticipated City of Brookings Progress Report from our Assistant to the City Manager, Samantha Beckman.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Council. This is the January 2025 Progress Report. On December 30th, a fire broke out in the 300 block of Main Avenue that lasted over 28 hours. We wanted to extend our gratitude to those who responded to the fire, including volunteer firefighters from Brookings, Volga, Madison, and Ramona. Though no lives were lost, several businesses and residents were affected by the fire, and to learn more about how you can help, visit the Downtown Brookings website. Also in the last month, Target was identified as the major anchor tenant at the Marketplace development alongside Aldi. They plan to start building this spring and be operational by fall of 2026. The city has also funded 3 unique incentive options for downtown businesses and property owners. Applications for those incentives are now open and are due by March 1st. The applications can be found on the city's website. The Finance Department has also worked very diligently over the past couple of months to create a new digital budget book for 2025, making this year's budget easier to navigate and more intuitive for residents, while also maximizing how we utilize our OpenGov software. The Public Works Department is gearing up for the 2025 project season. In the engineering division, the street maintenance project is expected to be about twice as large as last year, and that includes slurry sealing and chip sealing. And numerous street resurfacing projects will also happen in 2025, including a portion of 17th Avenue and 7th Avenue. Sidewalk maintenance will continue, along with ramp and signal improvements at Main Avenue and 12th Street South, and intersection improvements at 22nd Avenue and 20th Street South. Several drainage projects have been identified, as well as installation of new shared use paths along 20th Street South and 12th Street South. And we'll be continuing to update our master transportation plan, as well as finishing the 2-year parallel taxiway project at the airport. The Solid Waste Division has several 2025 projects they're gearing up for as well, including the creation of an e-waste program where residents will be able to properly dispose of electronic devices. They'll be continuing to implement the solid waste master plan by having construction start on the leachate main by this summer, finishing the landfill equipment storage building, and creating an area where residents can dispose of their garbage without necessarily having to drive into the landfill working area. The Solid Waste Division is also working with a group of SDSU students who are conducting a route optimization study on the collection routes in order to identify efficiencies for us. And the Holiday Light Recycling Program runs through January 31st, so you just have a couple of days left to drop off your holiday lights. And then finally, in the Solid Waste Division, they have 2 large equipment purchases that have been placed, including a landfill dozer and alternative daily cover applicator, which should arrive by the end of the second quarter. The Streets Division will be working to transition their fleet maintenance software, expand their roadway weather information system to include bridges, and implement a skills matrix to promote staff development and provide opportunities for advancement. They also have several large equipment purchases for 2025, including those listed on the screen here. The police department announced the return of the Stand for Seniors program, which allows senior citizens to call into the Brookings Police Department and request a bucket of sand to be delivered to their house. The police department also continued with their Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over social media campaign to encourage safe choices in driving over the holiday season. And Law Enforcement Appreciation Day was on January 9th, so we want to take the time here too to recognize and thank the incredible men and women of the Brookings Police Department for protecting our community every day. Officers were also involved in several community policing efforts in the last month, including Breakfast with Badges, Create with a Cop, Christmas Kids and Cops, as well as maintaining a presence at several Larson Ice Center hockey games. The Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department has been busy continuing to remove ash trees throughout the community, hosting several volleyball and hockey tournaments, as well as hosting a brand new family of possums found at the Dakota Nature Park. And the Activity Center's 2024 Impact Report is shown on the screen here too. And members also had the chance to attend the Back to the 80s Sip and Social event this month, as well as having our Volunteer of the Month identified. Her name is Lynn O'Neill, and she has just helped step up in every situation behind the scenes for all of the events over the last year. The library will be hosting a celebration exhibit which explores New Year's celebrations in South Korea, China, and Vietnam. This display was made possible through partnerships with the Freeman Foundation, the Association of Children's Museums, and the Children's Museum of South Dakota. They will also be hosting their interactive murder mystery game January 27th through the 29th. And lastly, Dakota Bank Center is hosting 11 event days in January. This month's highlight was the Tri-Company Dart Tournament with over 2,200 attendees. And staff also had the chance to attend the South Dakota Tourism Conference and complete a crowd management training to equip the team with critical skills to ensure safety of guests in an emergency. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Samantha. Any questions, comments from council? Thank you very much. All right, that can kind of the end of our meeting this evening. We do have a stated meeting on February 11th. Our second readings will be looked at then. Consent agenda, we've got abatement or refund property taxes possibly, designated and vote center locations, and appointment of election superintendent and judges. Ex officio reports, we probably will expect one from Councilmember Wendell on the merger discovery committee. A couple of first readings from the Sustainability Council. And then without that being said, council have any questions or comments or something they want to add for a future agenda? Councilmember Tilton Burn.
Excuse me, to Councilmember Specker's earlier comment, I do think that the presentation that Extension will be doing as it relates to the tourism initiative that was presented earlier, if we could have that at a study session when that comes, I think that would be a wise decision.
Say again, not Holly, what was?
So earlier in the meeting, Councilmember Specker had mentioned that when the Extension Office comes to do the presentation that Laura had discussed, that we should hear that as a study session. So I would just make a motion that when that time comes, that we host that presentation as a study session.
Let's have a second on that, Bonnie.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. I'm sure Bonnie will get that scheduled. Any other items that we should consider? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.